Hey, thanks for spending a few minutes with Phil in my daily devotional time. Lately, I've been looking at the biblical book of Judges. Judges. That's way back in the Old Testament. And this occurred after the people of Israel entered the Promised Land. It's actually after the book of Joshua. Joshua is the one who leads the people of Israel into the Promised Land. And they are told to subdue and even exterminate the people in the land of Canaan. They're told to do that because if they did not do that, the people in the land of Canaan would become a pain in the butt to them. Actually, the scripture says that they would be thorns on their side and barbs in their eyes. In other words, these people would become a pain in the butt, so they need to get rid of them. Well, they didn't listen to God, so because of that, they got into this cycle of events that occurred over and over again. I made this word up myself. I heard that Shakespeare, he made up words, so I thought, hey, if Shakespeare can do it, I too can do it. So let me share with you the cycle of events that would occur over and over in the book of Judges because the people of Israel didn't listen to God. First, they would start out with a strong leader, and under the strong leader, they would serve the Lord. But then the leader would die, and because of that, these people would turn away from God and begin to serve false gods. Not a good idea. So they would find themselves in bondage to these people in the land of Canaan. Wisely, they would cry out to God at this juncture, and God would send a deliverer or a judge. A judge, a better word might be a hero or maybe a deliverer. That might make more sense, actually, but they call it the book of Judges. And after they did that, then they would again have a strong leader and they would serve the Lord. And this would go over and over again in the book of Judges. But if you read the book of Judges carefully, you notice that each time the cycle would occur and each time they would get a new leader, things would become worse and worse and worse. And their leader would become more fallible than times before. In other words, their leader wouldn't be as good as the one before. But in chapter 4 of the book of Judges, we find a girl becomes a leader for the people of Israel, or a deliverer, I should say. A deliverer, that's what I should say. Now, you might say, well, no big deal, but this is way back before feminism. This lady, this girl was named Deborah, and she was a prophetess. Prophetess. I hope I said that right. We find this in Judges chapter 4 and 5. I should have made a new card, but I was too lazy. Now, at that time, there's this guy named Jabin. He is the king of Canaan, and he and his people are subduing the people of Israel, making life real bad for them. So Israel wisely cries out to the Lord. That's good thinking. And again, a girl, a female, a woman will be the one who is given credit for the victory that they would get. Now, what happens is this lady named Deborah, this prophetess I was telling you about, she's told to go to this General Barak, and say, hey, get a group of people together, 10,000 people together from the land of Naphtali and Zebulun. Get these people together, and you guys go attack Jabin and his army and his general Sisera. You guys do that, and you'll be victorious. And Barak says, well, I'm not going to do it unless you come with me. And Deborah says, okay, I'll come with you, but if so, the victory will not be given to you, but to a woman. I just kind of stated this, but I want to say it again. Again, Jabin was the king of Canaan at that time, and he had a general who led his army. His general was named Sisera, and we'll read that his army had 900 chariots. Now, chariot may not be big to you and me, but the chariot was the tank of days gone by. The chariot was the modern warfare. It was the B-2 bomber, you name it. It was the technological stuff of that day. General Barack, which would be a good name for the President of the United States, but General Barack, accompanied by Deborah, enlists General Sisera of the land of Canaan and his army and his 900 chariots at Mount Tabor. And Israel beats the snot out of the Canaanite army. I mean, they roughshod over them. They kill everybody pretty much. They kill all the chariot drivers. They kill everybody except for General Sisera of the Canaanite army. They get everybody except him. He wisely gets down off of his chariot and he makes a run for it. I'm going to try not to smash my cards down so hard because it's shaking my table and making me a little bit nervous. So what does General Sisera do? He goes to his buddy's house. His buddy is named Heber, but Heber's not home. But his wife is home, and she comes out. Her name is Jael, and she says, "Turn in, my lord. Turn in. Fear not." In other words, come on this way. She goes ahead and takes him to her tent, her and her husband's tent, and he lies down and he says, "Man, I'm thirsty." And she says, "Let me get you some milk." So she goes and gets some milk. He drinks the milk. And I guess between the milk and fighting hard in a war all day, he falls asleep. Well, when he falls asleep, Jael took a tent nail, she took a hammer, and went softly to him and smote the nail into his temple and fastened it into the ground. Ouch! Pretty dark stuff there. I haven't looked that down. Ouch! Well, General Brock, he comes sauntering by, and when he does, Jael says, "Hey, come here, you gotta see this." And when General Brock sees what happened to Sisera, he says, "Wow, that's something." Okay, he doesn't say wow, but he certainly was pretty amazed by the whole set of circumstances. And if you were to continue to read this story, you would end up in chapter 5. And chapter 5 is actually a song that's written by Deborah that talks about the war and how ultimately a woman sealed the victory, that woman, of course, being Jael. I thought it was Deborah, but I guess one or the other. Anyway. So here's the life lesson, or here's the thing I think about whenever I look at this story. Is my life cyclopical? In other words, do I go through the same cycle in my own life that the people of Israel went through? In other words, do I serve the Lord under the leadership of Christ? Do I do that? Are there times when I kind of fall away from the Lord, begin to serve false gods? And false gods today might be money, power, entertainment, you name it. I mean, is there times where my heart falls away from the Lord and I begin to serve other things? And those things happen. Usually I end up in bondage. Maybe I'm in medical problems, or maybe I end up with financial problems or relational problems, and I just feel tied up by my life and not set free. And if that happens, do I cry out to the Lord, which is wise to do? Then I believe God does send to deliver his son, Jesus Christ, to come back into my life, not to say that he never left, but to lead my life again, and things begin to do better, and I begin to serve the Lord. Thanks for spending a few minutes with Phil. Have a good day. Bye now.